Rivalries in the NFL aren't exactly uncommon, but most of the time, we see it between two teams who play in the same division as one another. However, you know you got something special when you have two teams who don't play in the same division, absolutely hating each other's guts, even years separated from their last matchup. And in today's NFL, we have quite a few spectacular non-division rivalries.
They got to use a timeout, I would think.
When you think of the NFL's best rivalries, you quickly think of, the Packers-Bears, Eagles-Giants, or Steelers-Ravens, to name just a few of the classics. But what do all these rivalries have in common? Well, they're all division rivals. They play each other twice a year every year, so obviously they're gonna hate each other. However, some of our all-time favorite NFL rivalries, past and present, are actually non-divisional affairs that deserve more love and attention. So here's a dive into the 10 biggest non-divisional rivalries in the NFL right now. Kansas City Chiefs and Buffalo Bills. We finally have the next great quarterback rivalry that will dominate the NFL for the next decade plus. We waited a long time for the next Tom Brady-Peyton Manning rivalry, and oh boy, it has arrived. Courtesy of one Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. These right here are two of the best quarterbacks in the game right now. Both players are surrounded by star-studded supporting casts, top-tier head coaches, and elite front offices, somewhat similar to what Brady and Manning had during their rivalry. The Bills and Chiefs met in their 2020 AFC Championship game, but it's the 2021 divisional round matchup that had everyone really talking, as it just so happened to turn into what many were calling the best game in NFL history. It just feels like the majority of AFC Championship banners will be won by either of these teams for the next little while. And in most cases, they'll probably have to get through one another in order to win those banners. So NFL fans, sit back and enjoy it all. We are truly witnessing history between the Bills and the Chiefs. Green Bay Packers and San Francisco 49ers. This is one of the NFL's defining rivalries of the 90s, with Brett Favre and Steve Young meeting in the playoffs 4 years in a row from 1995 to 98. Then we saw Aaron Rodgers and Colin Kaepernick square off in the 2012 and 2013 postseasons. The rivalry did hit a lull for a bit, but it reemerged in 2019 when the Packers and 49ers met in the NFC Championship game. And just like that, the Packers-49ers rivalry was reborn. Rodgers has been eliminated in the playoffs not once, but 4 times by the 49ers. That being in 2012, 2013, 2019, and 2021. And who can forget the rumors that the 49ers were on Rodgers' wish list when he sought a trade in the 2021 offseason? It's kind of funny because, well, we all know that Rodgers holds a grudge against the 49ers for infamously passing on him in favor of Alex Smith in the 2005 draft. So I suppose it's only fitting that San Fran's grown into his biggest non-division rival. The heated history between these two won't go away anytime soon, especially if they remain long-term title contenders. Favre's Packers denied the 49ers the 6th title in the 90s. San Fran returned the favor by constantly denying Rodgers that elusive second ring. That right there, folks, is how you build an intense non-division rivalry. Baltimore Ravens and Tennessee Titans. The first installment to the Ravens-Titans rivalry began in the early 2000s. Both teams featured physical defenses and virtually unstoppable ground games. Steve McNair was the stud dual-threat QB for Tennessee, accompanied by superstar running back Eddie George. Baltimore countered that with a dynamic running back duo of Jamal Lewis and Priest Holmes. Baltimore upset Tennessee in the 2000 divisional round, en route to a Super Bowl 34 title, the first in the franchise's history. However, the Titans got their payback by defeating Baltimore on the road 20-17 in the wildcard round. The 2008 Titans surprised everybody by finishing as the top seed in the AFC. But it was the 6th-seeded Ravens led by rookie Joe Flacco who stunned Tennessee 13-10 in the Music City. The rivalry picked up again in 2019, however, when the Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry-led Titans stunned MVP Lamar Jackson in the top-seeded Ravens in the divisional round. And then who can forget their 2020 regular season meeting when John Harbaugh got into a huge shouting match with Mike Vrabel after the Titans players gathered on the Ravens midfield logo before the game? Well, Baltimore got some sweet revenge by beating Tennessee on the road in the 2020 wildcard round. Add that all up, and that is 5 playoff meetings between these two clubs in the 21st century, and 1 very heated altercation between their respective head coaches. Indeed, this is as heated as it gets for a non-division rivalry. Minnesota Vikings and New Orleans Saints. The rivalry essentially started in 2012, 2 years after the Saints defeated Brett Favre's Vikings in the NFC Championship game en route to the franchise's first Super Bowl title. 2012 was the year the Saints' infamous Bountygate scandal came to light, and it's very obvious that Favre was one of the victims during that NFC title game. I mean, just look at the amount of vicious hits he took. Well, Minnie got some sweet revenge 8 years later when they beat the Saints in the 2017 divisional round by way of the Minneapolis Miracle. And then, 2 years later, Minnie stunned New Orleans in overtime at the Superdome in the wildcard round, with Kyle Rudolph seemingly getting away with a push-off on the game-winning TD. And then, on Christmas Day in 2020, you had Alvin Kamara racking up 6 rushing touchdowns against the same Vikings team, tying a single-game record. Then the team met 2 years later in London, where Justin Jefferson absolutely owned Marshawn Lattimore all day long. Although, the Saints were also on the wrong end of some pretty brutal officiating calls. That is a ton of dramatic, memorable moments for two teams who don't even play in the same division. If only the NFL schedule makers would let these two clubs play every year, because their matchups are always intriguing, or at the very least, controversial. Pittsburgh Steelers and Las Vegas Raiders. This was the NFL's defining rivalry of the 70s. Though it's not as heated as it used to be, the history is just way too special to ignore. These two franchises met in the playoffs 5 years in a row from 1972 to 76. Of course, the rivalry was officially born when the Steelers won the 1972 divisional round playoff game on the controversial Immaculate Reception play. Chuck Noll's Steelers dynasty was a key reason why the Raiders didn't become a dynasty of their own. And who knows how much different NFL history would have been if not for the Immaculate Reception controversy. The Raiders have been mostly irrelevant in the 21st century, so the rivalry with the Steelers isn't quite as heated as it used to be. But still, there are enough fans on both sides who still loathe the other team for this matchup to make our list. New England Patriots and Baltimore Ravens. This is another rivalry that isn't quite as intense as it once was, as the likes of Tom Brady, Ray Lewis, and Terrell Suggs are all long gone now. But it was once among the NFL's most heated rivalries, and it's not like either fan base is just going to forgive and forget after all those years. Just think about their history. Brady was always seen arguing with the likes of Lewis and Suggs on the field. There were those 4 playoff meetings over a 6-year span from 2009 to 2014, with both sides winning 2 games apiece. This included the 2011 and 2012 AFC Championship games, with the Ravens winning the second one en route to a Super Bowl 47 championship. John Harbaugh added more beef to the rivalry when he said the Patriots' first 3 championships were tainted because of the Spygate incident. And who can forget the time Tom Brady told the Ravens to read the rules after the Pats used some odd formations to fool Baltimore during their 2014 divisional round playoff game. The Ravens remain a contender with Lamar Jackson in the fold, and the Patriots aren't going anywhere with Bill Belichick. These right here are 2 physical, hard-hitting teams that win the old school way, with elite rushing games and punch-em-in-the-mouth defenses. And we're sure several more playoff meetings await these 2 clubs, and that should certainly help keep the fire in this rivalry alive. Los Angeles Rams and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Honestly, we don't know how much longer the intensity of this rivalry will actually last, but it has been strong enough since 2020 for us to include it on this list anyway. Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald versus Tom Brady's Buccaneers has been an absolute pleasure to watch. LA beat the Bucs in their 2020 and 2021 regular season matchups, and then they upset them at Raymond James Stadium in the divisional round en route to winning Super Bowl 56. We all thought that the Rams had sent Brady into his retirement, but, you know, he went back on his word 40 days later. Clearly, he felt as though he had some unfinished business. The Rams and Bucs have been 2 of the NFC's ultimate heavyweights since 2020. You could even go back to the 1997 NFC title game, which featured the Burt Emanuel no catch that ended up ruining Tampa's chances of winning a Super Bowl. But once Brady retires, this rivalry will probably lose a ton of steam. But it's fun enough for the time being that we just couldn't leave it out. Dallas Cowboys and San Francisco 49ers. These 2 iconic franchises dominated the 90s together. They met in 3 straight NFC Championship games from 1992 to 94. The winner of that game went on to win the Super Bowl each and every time. Dallas, of course, won those first 2 NFC Championship meetings, prompting the notion that Steve Young wouldn't win the big one. Then, the 3rd time proved to be a charm, as Young and company demolished America's team in the '94 title game before winning the Super Bowl. This feud was also huge because Deion Sanders, Charles Haley, and Ken Norton Jr. won rings on both sides of the rivalry. And even though the two teams wouldn't meet in the playoffs again until the 2021 wildcard round, with San Fran defeating Dallas on the road, the animosity between the two fan bases certainly remains. Many old-timer Cowboys fans still aren't over the catch from the 1981 NFC title game, which put Dallas's next dynasty on hold while kickstarting the Niners' incredible run. Enough damage has been done between these two franchises to the point where the hatred has never really gone away. Honestly, we really wish we got this matchup more often. But perhaps another playoff showdown or two are in the cards over the next few years. New England Patriots and Pittsburgh Steelers. Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger may be long gone, but trust us, the hostility these two fan bases feel towards one another isn't going to end anytime soon. The Steelers and Patriots were the two best teams in the AFC through Tom Brady's 20 years in New England. The Patriots won 9 AFC championships and 6 Super Bowls. Pittsburgh reached 3 Super Bowls and won 2. New England, of course, beat Pittsburgh in the 2001, 2004, and 2017 AFC Championship games to win their first, third, and 5th Super Bowls. So naturally, some Steelers fans are gonna be holding that grudge for a long time. And then you've probably heard the speculation that the Patriots were cheating during some of those early matchups with the Steelers at the beginning of their dynasty. So that probably gave Steelers fans even more reason to loathe New England. And don't forget the words of James Harrison and Ryan Clark, two former Steelers who publicly called the Patriots cheaters. Even though this was a very one-sided rivalry in New England's favor, we can't imagine that either side has a whole lot of respect for the other. And remember when Antonio Brown and Harrison wound up in New England for brief stints? Yeah, Steelers fans couldn't have been happy about that. Green Bay Packers and Dallas Cowboys. The rivalry started over half a century ago, and it's never truly gone away. Bart Starr's Packers beat Dallas in the 1966 and 1967 NFL championship games before winning the Super Bowl both years. The rivalry gained more steam in the 90s with Brett Favre's Packers battling the Cowboys dynasty for NFC supremacy. Then it got intense again during the following decade with Aaron Rodgers battling it out against Tony Romo and later Dak Prescott. Green Bay beat Dallas in the 2014 NFC divisional round thanks to the whole Dez didn't catch it controversy. 2 years later, the Packers upset Prescott and the top-seeded Cowboys at AT&T Stadium in the divisional round. So as you can see, the rivalry between these two historic franchises has always been heated and dramatic. And when Dallas hired former Packers head coach Mike McCarthy in 2020, it added a little more spice to this already iconic matchup. Love or hate either of these teams, but the Packers-Cowboys rivalry is really in its own class. And it serves as the model rivalry as far as non-divisional beefs go. But which do you think is the biggest non-division rivalry in the NFL right now? Join us in the comments section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.